Welcome back. I'm Sal Buscemi, CEO of Dandry Media and co-founder and managing director here at Dandry Partners in New York City. In this 5-Minute Fundamentals mini-series, we're going to deep dive into some very creative and profitable commercial deal structuring strategies that occur every day in commercial real estate finance. These are those same strategies that our intermediaries are using to structure themselves into deals that they probably would never have been able to get into by themselves, using none of or very little of their own or investors' money. These are the same strategies that some of our intermediaries are using to command consulting fees in the range of $15,000 to $25,000 per client. This is a very special mini-series that will probably motivate you to look at any commercial asset much differently going forward. Now listen carefully. This video is going to set the tone as to which strategies you will use that we'll discuss in the subsequent deal structuring videos in this mini-series. Meaning you should be able to answer pass or play with a reason for rejecting the deal or have an idea of how you need to proceed from your sponsor, borrower, or operator. So sit tight, let's get right into it. All right, welcome back. We're going to dive into our deal structuring series here with deal structuring secrets for commercial real estate. And before we do that, we want to make sure we have a good grasp as to what we're doing with this particular deal. It's important for us to ascertain what we're going to do with it. Before we do that, we have to ask the hard questions. And after we have the answers to those hard questions, we can go through our playbook and actually determine what strategy we're going to be using of the 9 that we have laid out here that a lot of people have been using over the past few years to structure their distressed transactions. Some of the videos in the webinar we talk about, some of the students themselves talk about the deals that they're talking about structuring using these deal structuring techniques where they're actually putting no money of their own down. So it's kind of exciting, and this is how Wall Street does it. So let's get started here. Number 1, when you're looking at it, there's 5 things you need to look at. Number 1, you're going to get the numbers and the qualifying data points first. You want to get the 5 data points. That's the current NOI, the pro forma NOI, the debt structure, the sources and uses, and the exit strategy. And that's important. Now, if anybody tells you to look at something that's in a package that's 200 pages thick, they're wasting your time. You're going to want to be very demanding from them to make sure that they're getting you that information, because that's going to tell you how you're going to direct this deal and how it's going to be orchestrated for the best profitability, and really see if it's something that anyone, especially your institutional partners such as us or someone else, is really going to want to deal with. Number 2, we're going to deal with this and we're going to take it back and say, does this make sense? Am I really feeling the gut instinct here that this person knows what they're doing and this opportunity is being portrayed in a way where I can actually understand it and communicate it? If you can't communicate it to your spouse, you shouldn't be involved in this deal in the first place. And that's a good piece of wisdom for many of you newbies out there who really are getting started and are easily influenced by people who might have a stronger personality than you do. Let's move on now to number 3, because this is very important. What legal activity has been initiated? Have they filed a notice of default? That is a smoking gun right there. Many times you'll hear someone is behind in payments, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually in legal default. They're in legal default as soon as the bank or lender actually files the notice of default, because then the clock starts running where they're actually going to enforce foreclosure. Now, this is very important. There's other things too that can happen. Maybe the lender did file the NOD or the notice of default, but the borrower filed bankruptcy. Ask the hard questions, because these are the ones that are going to bite you in the rear in the end if you don't ask them. Very important questions. It's a way for you to sound credible and very intelligent when you're asking these types of hard questions. Number 4, what's the story? What's really going on here? If it is in default, how did it get into default? What's the story? Was it a bad operator? What did he do wrong? Was it an out-of-state owner? You know the stories, you know how this works. But usually you're dealing with weak, inexperienced operators or sponsors who bought real estate who had no business getting into the deal. And lastly, once you have all that information put together, you're going to structure a solution using one of the 9 solutions that we're going to talk about in the next upcoming 9 videos. So you can see that this is actually very exciting stuff, how you can actually structure these deals to your benefit and maximum profitability. However, you need to know exactly what's going on, and you have to make sure that people are upfront and honest with you. Certain times people like to fool people and pull the wool over each other's eyes in this business. It's a game where there's a lot of bluffing that's going on, but if you're asking the right questions and the hard questions, you're going to come out looking smarter and more credible than the rest. Let's move on.